And so as Achish's advisors tell the king that this is the legendary David, David had so much reason to be much afraid. He for some reason hoped to find sanctuary in Gath, but his plans had failed. And as a last resort, in fear and in desperation, David now resorts to acting. He dabbles nonsense graffiti on the doors of the town gate. He let his spit run down his beard. David put on the performance of his life. One theologian comments, "The man who stood calmly before Goliath because he was possessed with faith now acts like a maniac because he is possessed with fear." The only maybe positive thing to say about David's action was that, it worked. David rightly thought that Achish wouldn't want to keep him if he was behaving in this way. Achish had enough crazy people and did not need another one in David. And so David escaped and was permitted to go slobbering on his way. Well then, what are we to make of this story? David, in desperation, flees to enemy territory seeking refuge. His plans fail. He resorts to acting crazy. And David escapes. The end. But just like earlier, we would do better to ask, what does God seem to be doing here? In fact, this is the very question that David asks himself as he reflects on this incident. As we heard in the scripture reading earlier, according to the heading or superscription of Psalm 34, but then also Psalm 56, we read that David wrote those psalms as he reflected on this fiasco in Gath. And as he reflects on this account, David does not say, "Phew, I am so lucky for getting out of that." No, you know what David says? In Psalm 56, verse 9, he says, "God is for me." In Psalm 34, David writes, "I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles." And so David looks back at that incident and concludes, though I was at my lowest point, though I was acting in desperation, though I was in the valley of the shadow of death, God was protecting me all along. Even in his most desperate moments, God did not let go of David.